Welcome to the Rockabye Revenue podcast with me, Abby Watson. I'm a mum of 4 and a business strategist, and I train people to become hypnobirthing teachers. In the last decade, I've built a thriving baby business that grew beyond my wildest dreams. This podcast is for you if you run a business or dream of running a business in the birth and baby industry. You want to change lives whilst making more money. I'm talking about creating sustainable income whilst being present for the people that matter most. I believe for our baby businesses to have the impact we desire, we must be rewarded. On this podcast, expect me to share actionable strategies without the jargon. I've been where you are. I've built a business while raising 4 little ones, and now I'm here to help you turn your passion into profit while creating the life you've always dreamed of. So let's get started. Lovely one, welcome back to another episode of Rockabye Revenue. I am talking about testimonials today, reviews, not just how to get more of them. Okay, I'm talking about something even more important than that. We're not talking about quantity here. We're gonna be talking about quality. How to get amazing testimonials that are actually going to lead to other people booking your course and to take the kind of risk that people might feel when they're booking your service. Now, why do testimonials do that? Well, testimonials can do that because ultimately it's social proof. It's that bit of proof that, okay, this has worked for somebody else. This has been great for someone else. This has been enjoyed by somebody else. And when they're reading that, often they will put themselves in that position. Okay. Now, beyond that, these testimonials can actually address some of the doubts they've currently got, and that's what we're going to be talking about. So, yes, isn't it fabulous to have Google reviews, Facebook reviews that say things like, I loved the course. Yeah, brilliant. Does well for your star ratings, doesn't it? But ideally, we want more than that. If I was looking at a service and I was reading the reviews, I loved the course, wouldn't really tell me very much and wouldn't be likely to be that thing that pushed me from curious to actually, I am going to book, I am going to use this service, right? Like, we want to read something that actually puts us at ease. You know, when we are looking at reviews, we want to read something that's like, okay, now I feel that bit more confident about booking that thing. And I loved the course, probably isn't enough. So whilst it's important to be asking regularly for reviews, getting into the habit of asking our clients at various points for reviews, knowing that the clients that we work with, either being pregnant or in the early days of parenting, are busy people, so we do need to remind. We also want to focus on, when they do reviews, that the reviews are really powerful for us going forward. And let's face it, when our clients that have loved our services want to leave a review for us, they most likely want to do a really good job. You know, they know that that review means so much to you, both personally and for your future business going forward. So they want to do a really good job at writing a review. And you know, I've been there. I've wanted to write reviews and I'm a bit like, oh gosh, I just don't know where to start. Where do I start? Like, there's so much I could write. And sometimes that in itself prevents me from doing it. because I'm like, I need to give this review the focus, the time that it deserves, because literally this service has been life-changing, But that kind of like overwhelm at like doing a good job sometimes means I don't get round to doing it right away. So we can absolutely help our clients with this. And as a result, get the testimonials, get the words, get the reviews that are going to be so useful to us going forward. Okay. Now, rather than I loved the course, we want these reviews to almost like tell a story. And ideally, we want these reviews to address some of the potential objections that our potential clients of the future might have. So if we think about this from a hypnobirthing perspective, because I know lots of the listeners to this podcast are hypnobirthing teachers, and we think of the potential objections clients to be might have, well, they might think, oh gosh, is my birth partner going to think this is weird? Is it just for home births? Is it going to be preachy? Those are the things they might have as objections that might be even subconsciously preventing them from taking the plunge. If you're listening to this as someone who hosts baby classes, again, think about the objections. So they might be looking at your baby class, but they might be thinking, oh, is it going to be really cliquey? And I'm going to be the only person that doesn't know anyone. What if my baby cries during the whole of it? Oh gosh, is accessibility going to be really difficult when I'm there with my car seat or I'm there with my pushchair or whatever? So really thinking about these potential objections. And we want to gently nudge the person writing the testimonial to mention those things that maybe they also had as objections. Now, of course, we are not telling people what to write. No, we do not want that. But what we can do to get better, not better because we're always going to have great reviews, but getting more useful, getting these golden reviews, is giving them some prompts, giving people specific questions that they can answer. Or if we are nudging them towards writing a Google review, instead of just saying, here's where you can write me a Google review, but in here's where you can leave me a Google review, I'd be particularly keen to hear about blah, blah, blah. And you give them those nudges. So to give your clients more chance of referring to the objections, we can carefully think of what questions we're going to ask. Now, it's not just the objections we want to address, they're going to be super useful for us. But we also, rather than I loved the course, we want to hear what the course, what the sessions, what the class did for them, because very rarely are people booking your service just for something to do, They are hoping for an outcome. And, if you host baby classes, that outcome might be, I made some new friends. I felt I had time to connect with my baby during my precious and very limited maternity leave, If they're booking an antenatal course, hypnobirthing sessions, a doula, it might be, I want to feel better about birth because actually right now I am petrified. I want to feel in control of how I'm currently feeling because actually I'm spending day and night just Googling the what ifs, they're looking for an outcome. And if we can encourage our reviews to focus on that as well, that's going to be really, really powerful. Now, we've got to also balance this, okay? We've got to balance this between, getting the juicy bits out of these reviews and not overwhelming the person writing the review so much that they don't actually fill it in or they don't actually write you a review. So this is a balance. And as a result, we want to think about, yes, we can give people prompts, letting them know that the prompts are absolutely optional. Anything is hugely appreciated, and that when we give prompts, we do not give 20 prompts. We limit the prompts to like 3, 4, because if we send them a list of 12 prompts, again, it feels like this huge mammoth task that they're going to put off. We want them to actually do it. Okay. So let's think about some prompts that may be really useful for getting more of a story testimonial, so that we're moving from I loved the course to something like, before I booked Abby's course, I was feeling absolutely terrified about birth. I heard about hypnobirthing, but I was a bit worried it was going to be preachy and was going to convince me to, avoid all drugs. And that scared the hell out of me. When I went to the sessions, I was made so welcome. And I soon realised that the course was not preachy whatsoever. I felt so at ease. My views were really respected. And now I am feeling so confident about giving birth. I know I've got all these tools that I've been practicing regularly, and I can't wait to give birth. That review, so much more powerful than I loved the course, because they're telling their story. They're referring to objections that they had. I thought it was going to be preachy. I thought she'd be convincing me to have no drugs and all this, Even refers to things, I was made to feel. And then, where are they now? What is the outcome? I feel confident. I know I've got all these tools. See that in comparison to I love the course. It's telling that story, and it's got those juicy golden nuggets that are going to help take clients of the future or potential clients of the future from should I book this to like, okay, I want that. I want what she's had. Yeah? So, prompts to help you with this. And please adapt to your particular service. Okay? So I would be asking, before they came on the course, how were they feeling? Before they came on the course, how were they feeling? Because then you're getting the before, yeah? Then I'd be asking, did you have any apprehensions about booking? So this is where you're prompting them to reflect back on, actually, was there anything that nearly put me off? Were there any apprehensions? So this might be where they were like, I thought my birth partner would think this was witchcraft. So, yeah, that nearly put me off. So asking, did they have any apprehensions? Or even asking directly, was there a reason you nearly didn't book? Whatever wording you think would work for your potential clients. Okay. Then, what was the course? What were the classes like? Yeah? So we don't know what they're going to put there, but hopefully they talk about how welcome they were made to feel, how informative, how friendly you were. All these things that, again, are really gold. And then, really importantly, okay, how are you feeling now? Yeah? Or what has the class done for you? So something that encourages them to talk about the result. Yeah? Now, you might be listening to this thinking, well, I work with expectant parents. So when I work with a client, they're pregnant. And maybe the work that you do prepares them for birth. So you might be thinking, so does that mean I should wait until after they've had their baby to ask them for a review so I get them to be able to reflect on how the stuff helped them for birth? My perspective is no. Ask them right away, because if they reflect on the course, they're still going to have an outcome. And actually, as we know, them doing a hypnobirthing course is not necessarily about how amazing their birth was. We want that for our clients, absolutely. But they will have still benefited from the course and how it made them feel in pregnancy, even if actually their birth isn't how they'd have liked it to be, And if we're like, oh, tell me how it goes beyond the birth, it can almost reinforce this perspective of, let's see if it works. And it's not about whether it works or not. There's still a transformation. There's still an outcome. Also, if you are working with pregnant clients, they are most likely to have more time to do a review right now than they will have when their baby is born. And actually, you could get an incredible review from them right now. They might then tell you about when their baby's been born, and that might be your nudge to say, I'd love you to write something for me about how it was, or I'd love you to share your birth story, or, your message, you said that, you felt so calm and tranquil. Could I use that? Could I screenshot that? So just because you've asked for a review at a certain point doesn't mean that you can't use their golden words later. But by asking earlier, you have got so much more chance and so many more opportunities of getting this incredible feedback that's going to be amazing for your business. Okay. So to get these golden testimonials, ultimately, we want to give people prompts, because if they're just left with this box to fill out a testimonial, they might just put, I loved it, which is great. And we're so grateful for that. And it's lovely to hear, but we want those powerful words. And like I said, it is about quality over quantity. Like as a business owner, you could have 100 reviews, but if they're all really brief, like I loved the course, Abby was great, all this, they're not as powerful as having 4 reviews that really tell this story and you can use time and time again on your website, sharing them at taster sessions. They're gonna be so powerful. Now, perhaps another time I can talk about the power of how you share the reviews. Okay. As a preview, I would not suggest that you share the whole A4 review if someone's kindly left you that you really pick the bits that are the powerful bits. Okay. Now, before you go, I want to share another tip on this. Yes, the prompts matter, but as well as that, how easy you make it for people. So, yeah, you might give them the prompts, but also let them know that if it's easier for them to film themselves talking, if it's easier for them to voice note you and you write it up, you are so up for that. You do the hard work so actually they get it done. Or maybe you have some kind of community events with your past clients, or maybe actually in their final sessions or one of their sessions, you have, a camera and a mic, and you say to people, would you mind sharing a few words about how you found this course? And you ask them those questions from the prompts. You make sure you ask if they're happy for it to be shared. via the video or via you transcribing, and you create these opportunities so that you are getting more and more of these juicy, really productive reviews that are going to help you get more clients. Now, I hope that has been useful, and as ever, I love to hear what you have taken from these episodes. So please do come over to my Instagram at loveyourberth_training and let me know what your key takeaway is from this episode. And even more importantly, let me know what you plan to take forward from it. What you plan to do on the back of it to make sure you get these juicy, golden testimonials that are going to have such an impact on your business. So come on over and share with me. Let's make it easy. Drop me a message or leave me a voice note. I do love a voice note. And as ever, keep on changing lives, lovely one. You are doing amazing work, and I shall speak to you next week. And next week, I am talking about when people ghost you. When people leave you hanging. That keen client that, you've been going backwards and forwards, about your sessions, about your courses, about your services, and now they seem to disappear. And you followed them up and it's crickets. We're going to be talking about the truth behind that and how actually it's probably nothing to do with your pricing. It's certainly not because you seemed too desperate. We're going to talk about the reality behind it and what to do next. So I shall see you next time, where I'll be talking about being ghosted, because I've had a very big experience of being ghosted recently, and I'll tell you about that too. So take care. See you next time. Bye. Thank you for listening to Rockabye Revenue. I hope this episode has left you with some fresh ideas and bundles of motivation. If you enjoyed this episode, do make sure you click subscribe so you never miss an installment. And if you found this episode useful, I'd love you forever if you leave a 5-star review, helping this podcast reach the ears of more of the helpers in this world. And remember, keep changing lives. See you next time.